Hello, and welcome back to season 4 of Visiting Dugout. I am Crystal O'Keefe. I have my friend Britt Huber back to chat about her maybe beloved Giants, depending on the day.
Yeah, it depends on the day.
At least she has the Yankees, I like to say. Um,
There are days when that's only so helpful, but
Hello and welcome back.
hey.
Um, Excuse me. This is gonna just as a warning, this is going to be a silly, goofy podcast today because when the two of us get together and talk baseball, it is just two women on the spectrum
Yeah,
nerding
exactly.
out.
Exactly.
Um, so this is just going to be silly, goofy. If you're not into silly, goofy, this is your time to leave. Um, anyway, so what's new with the Giants?
Um, God, that's quite a question lately. It's just been such a weird year already. And uh, I went into the season sort of expecting that like it could go a lot of ways, right? Um, there were still sort of some weird holes in the roster. Kind of didn't know where all the innings were going to come from, especially the late innings. Um, and Ryan Walker, who went into the season as the closer, is in AAA now because he just turned into a pumpkin in the way that relievers tend to do. Um, but I felt like pretty good about the lineup actually, and I felt pretty good about the adding Arise and Harrison Bader. So I felt like, okay, this is probably going to be, it'll be okay at least. Um, and I liked the Tony Vitello hire a lot actually because I thought it was a big swing, right? Like it's a very low floor, high ceiling proposition, but given where the team was and given what the other available coaching options are, I thought I liked it, right? Like I thought go for if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine. Fire the guy who give, I'm sure there's a buyout in his contract. It's fine. Just be done with it if it doesn't work. Like whatever. Um and I do still agree with all of that. Like I'm not taking back any of those opinions, but it has definitely gone some ways. I did not predict them to be completely incapable of scoring runs at times. That was not actually something I was particularly afraid of. Um, and yet here we are, where they go days where it's just like I've never seen a baseball before. Um, so I sort of don't know what to think because I also feel like it's too it's we're a quarter of the way through the season, but that's still feels like too early to decide whether Tony Vitello is going to be good at this or not in the fullness of time. Like this is a huge transition for him. And the same way that I wouldn't, if a prospect was called up from AAA and it was 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever, even this point in the season, right? Less than half a season, a third of a season, and it was uneven for them still. I wouldn't write off a prospect either. So I feel like you kind of have to give someone like Vitello who's coming in with no big league experience. I'm willing to like give him some rope in that regard, but it has been it's been an experience. It hasn't been all bad. Like they've had some very good games. Like they played well against the Dodgers for the most part, which is hysterical. And if you're going to do nothing else as the Giants, you want to play well against the
Yeah.
Dodgers. So like that happened. And they've had some series where they looked actually really pretty okay. And then they've had some where it's just like, have you done this before? Like, are you familiar with the goal of winning a baseball game here? Like, and then you get the dry humping in the outfield, just like as a fun aside in the midst of this completely
With Ken
baffling
Rosenthal
season.
saying we're not doing this.
And why not? Is my personal opinion. They're consenting adults,
Ken, just say you're not getting laid. It's fine.
right?
Just admit
And
it.
I do still though I want to know whether the ringleader of that was Drew Gilbert or Harrison Bader. It was one of them,
Yeah.
but I still don't know which one.
My money is on
Um,
Harrison Bader. That
my
seems like
my
something
money
he,
is yeah. I agree. I think my money is in Harrison Bader, and also because it happened like right after he came off the IL.
yeah.
So circumstantial evidence does point to him. Former Gator. I've been watching Harrison Bader play baseball since he was like 18 years old. So this is very weird. But yeah, it does feel like a thing he would do.
He's a silly, goofy guy. It's funny that
He sure
you
is.
talked about the ups and downs because I was looking up probable pitchers and I was like, well, let's see how they're doing. And so like I look at Robbie Ray and it was a 12-2 game the last time he pitched. But then I go to Adrian Hauser and it's 10-1 Giants against the A's. And I was like, what kind of sorcery what is going on
No
with
one's sure.
with anything? With offense, with defense, like what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really like on any given day, you're not sure what baseball team is going to show up
Yeah.
in any respect, which is, I mean, it's not ungiancy in that regard. So like, been there to an extent, but it is like very extreme, and that every aspect of their game is just like some days it's going to look really pretty good, and other days it's going to be like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Baseball is drunk. Um,
Yeah.
so the Giants off season, just stepping back, were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Did they fill anything that they really needed to do? How are you feeling about it?
Uh, given it, given the circumstances, right? Given the constraints they're working within, I was pretty happy with the offseason. Like I said, I feel like adding Harrison Bader was a really important add. Um, there was a hole there, and he's a good fit for that. And it was, I think it was only a 2 or 3 year contract. It was a pretty short one. So I felt good about that. The funny thing is I was a little bit iffy on Luis Arias because I'm like, he's an average hitter, but it's an empty average, and he's a defensive liability, and like, I don't know if giving him a spot in the lineup every day just for the fact that he's going to hit 350 or whatever ridiculous number. I don't know how I feel about that. And he actually has been a much better all around hitter than I expected, and he's actually been very good
Mhm.
defensively. So it's very funny. I was like, well, okay, you got me on that one. Um, so like that is the only thing that I was like kind of iffy about, and has actually turned out really well. The bullpen was and is an issue. Like and the rotation too, but like especially the bullpen, they needed more relievers added in the offseason. But I also was not like super upset at them not signing a bunch of people, because they've got to figure out what they've got in the farm system. They've got to figure out if some of those pitching, like starter prospects, you're going to move them to the bullpen. Are there guys that can turn out to be really useful? Because we have seen that happen in some cases. Um, like Caleb Killian was a Giants prospect, got traded in the Chris Bryant trade, and then got brought back and has really done pretty well. So, a number of like more under the radar relievers like that, you have to sort of see what you have. And I think one of the things with this team right now is that like there were expectations to an extent going into the season, because they were in the hunt for that last wild card spot last year until pretty late in the year. Um, but also the reality is that Buster Posey is Buster Posey, and God knows he can do anything as far as I'm concerned. But he also inherited a hot mess.
Yeah.
Like he inherited an empty farm system and a roster that was made up of a bunch of kludgy parts and didn't totally make sense. And it was like they had spent after the weird mix and match, glue a bunch of shit together of 2021 worked really well. It's like they kept trying to do that, and it's not a repeatable formula.
Mm.
But the roster and the farm system were still really kind of built that way. Um, and uh, like it's going to take a little bit of time to dig out from under that. I think is the reality of what we're seeing, that there's not a lot of depth waiting to be called on. And some of the pieces that there was an expectation that like, hey, these will be people who are in the rotation or in the lineup are like reliable, um fairly significant contributors on a roster. That hasn't turned out to be the case. And that's always going to be how it goes, right? Like it's always a little bit of a lottery ticket, but we're in that phase of the tickets are either going to cash out or they're not. And you kind of have to go through that a little bit to get to the point where you really have an understanding of what you have and you can move forward long term from there. um, I think getting to the point where you have a pretty consistent lineup was a huge move, and that's really necessary going forward. um, and the catching situation is unexpectedly useful and also weird right now. Like, I don't think anybody went into the season expecting that they were going to trade Patrick Bailey in May, but I do think it was the right move. I don't like it because he's such a defensive unicorn. Like he is so good behind the plate in every respect. Like he's just phenomenal in that regard. He's won a couple gold gloves already for a reason. Like he's just a ridiculously good player that way. But the poor boy just he just the bat was not even remotely there, the pat, and like not just this year, it was a problem last year too. And it was like the the trend is just going the wrong direction. And so I do think when you see Daniel Susak show up and be able to play well and hold his own, and they had Rodriguez in Sacramento kind of like waiting to see what was going on there. So I do think you have to say like at a certain point, like I can't pinch hit for you
Mhm.
every time. Like that's not currently how the rules work. So at a certain point, like I have to go for the more well-rounded options. Um, so I don't hate that. Like I again, like it's not nobody likes having to make a move like that, but um it sort of is what it is. I think it's very funny that that happened at the same time that the Joey Bart situation in Pittsburgh also is like coming to a head. it, it does feel a little bit like everyone who tries to replace Buster is just going to be cursed for some period of time.
Mhm.
Um, which fair. Like that's maybe we just need to get far enough away from his playing career that people don't. There's not that sort of like implied comparison or that
Yeah,
like
there's
pressure.
as long as he is still within the organization's walls, I feel like you're never going to
Right.
be able to disconnect player versus, hey, I'm in charge now.
Right, right. Like they had a Brandon Belt like appreciation ceremony um that I was at a couple of weeks ago. And so they had, a bunch of former Giants, a bunch of his teammates, and Buster was there. And it was just very funny to have like your president of baseball operations who would also still be here because he played Brandon Belt's entire career together, pretty close. it's just a very funny. I'm not what I'm really looking forward to his number being retired in a couple of years because it's going to be extremely funny because he hates it so much. Like he is so much like do not perceive me. Like he hates the attention. He hates the pomp and circumstance. And like that Zach Manassian and other people like in the organization are like, no, we're making you do this. Like
Yeah.
you don't get out of this. Like this is how this works. You get into the Hall of Fame and then we retire your number. And that's how this happened. And you're gonna get a statue. And you had to have known this was going to happen. Like this was a foregone conclusion for years.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna have to sit there and let people tell you how much they love you. Like that's just gonna have to be how this goes.
Exactly. I mean, I could sit and talk about how much I love Buster Posey and how he was like a huge impact on, late 2000s, early 2010s. Like I was like, no, the Tim Lincecum Buster Posey pipeline got me like really into baseball at like a really, well, I mean, I was already into baseball. That is a weird way of saying it. But like that was time like during both of my pregnancies with both of my children. I was on bed rest with both of them. And so those two like kind of just kept my spirit just alive because,
Right.
despite being a Sox fan, I am also always going to be a distant Giants fan because of those two.
Right.
But and it's funny, you invoke the name Buster Posey, and I immediately am just like, oh yeah, and Tim Lincecum. Like those two go hand in
Right.
hand. In my brain, there's no
Mhm.
disconnect. But you said, like, I mean, the second you invoked his name, I was like, oh, I gotta tell her about the Tim Lincecum tattoo that I saw and wanted. Although you follow me on Instagram, so you probably like saw me post it. Like I'm actively trying to reach out to this artist in San Francisco and say, "Hey girl, I'm never gonna be in San Francisco long enough for me to like book this tattoo with you, and I'm not gonna pay an astronomical amount to get to San Francisco right now to get this tattoo. So can I have permission for my artist
Right.
to do this
Right. Can
on
I
my body because oh my God, I want this Tim Lincecum tattoo that she drew up."
who did it? I remember you posting it, but I didn't catch who the artist was.
I gotta go back and look. But like she also had like Peanut, like she had Charlie Brown and Snoopy, and there was like one of the bridge, like it was just incredible. And I was
Oh
like,
man, how funny.
oh my God, I would take 90% of this flash sheet that you just posted, but like
Hmm.
more than anything, like I have this perfect spot right here that's empty, a beautiful Tim Lincecum, like American style pinup would
That'd be amazing.
this is like my love arm. This is all the people I love. Like I've got like a tattoo for my sister, a tattoo for my husband, both of my grandparents and my children up here. And I was like, then I
There
could
you
just
go.
put Tim Lincecum
Yeah.
also on my arm and hope that my husband isn't like, this is weird. We're gonna get a divorce now. Why are you adding him to your love arm? But he knows. He knew. He knew coming into this how much that man means to me.
Uh,
But yeah, there's no removing Buster from player Buster ever.
right. Like it's unavoidable. And the thing is too that like it wasn't that long ago, right? Like
No.
he's only been retired for 5 years.
I wrote about that
So
retirement.
right, right, right. Like I was fully an adult like while this all happened. Um, so it is still like it's relatively fresh in people's memories. And yeah, the fact that he's around
Yeah.
still, like that's a huge part of it. And also like one of the things that the Giants are really good at is keeping former players and keeping real franchise legends around. Like,
Mhm.
you know, I was not present for Willie Mays's career or Willie McCovey's career, but I like have been in a room with both of them
I've got a
because they were
statue. I've
just
got a picture with the Willie Mae statue.
yeah. And they were both just like around all the time. Like I'm very lucky and that um the seats that I usually sit in that are one of my best friends family season tickets. Where we normally sit are in Field Club, sort of just behind the Giants dugout.
Hmm.
And so where the door from the like corridor into our seats, we are the last door before the door that goes between the dugout and the clubhouse. Um, so like I've literally just like seen William McCovey in the hallway and like just waved and said hi. And he's like, hi. Like he's a super sweet guy. But like the Giants are really good at that.
Hmm.
So I mean, I feel like Buster Posey is going to be one of those sort of Willie Mays, Willie McCovey figures for the team years and years from now. In that way, that like you don't have to have been there for his career to still like be a fan and understand what he meant to the franchise. And it's just it's unavoidable. And I think it was always going to be the hard thing about him taking this job.
So getting away from Buster, I wanted to ask this because as like a White Sox Mets girly, Luis Robert Jr. leaving the White Sox and going to the Mets, I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Do you find it maybe incestuous that you got Harrison Bader on the Giants after he was a Yankee?
This is not the first time this has happened. Actually, it's extremely funny. They love to trade players back and forth periodically. So like going back to so I've been a Yankees fan since 2011. My best friend, um, born and bred Yankees fan, we actually initially bonded over Buster Posey and have since like adopted each other's teams. So I've been a Yankees fan since 2011. In 2011 or in 2012, at the end of spring training, they traded Chris Stewart to the Yankees and got George Contos in return. So I watched George Contos like his rookie debut and stuff as a Yankee, and then he was with the Giants for years after that. Chris Stewart is one of my probably my favorite like remember a guy
Yeah.
player. And I watched him play with the Giants, and then he got traded to the Yankees, and I watched him play with the Yankees for a couple of years before he got traded to the Pirates. Um, the Giants acquired Tyra Estrada from the Yankees basically because Buster was like, "Hey, he's really good,"
Mhm.
and then they went and acquired him. I think that offseason. Who else? There's been like actually an interestingly kind of long line of like guys that I really liked who played for both franchises. Carlos Rodon was with the Giants and then signed immediately with the Yankees from there.
Also, love
Um,
of my life, Carlos Rodon.
uh, I love Carlos, and so yeah, there's been sort of a funny like trend in a lot of ways recently. And the funny thing with Harrison too is that again, like it's not that I don't think of him as a Yankee. Like I remember him playing for the Yankees. It was fun. Um, but I've been watching him play baseball since he was like 18 years old because he played for the Gators, and I am a baby Gator, a born and bred Gators fan. So it's like he's always sort of a Gator in my head that like
Yeah.
I've been watching him play baseball for so long that like it's still sort of always that sort of what's always in my head.
Love him, precious. So the Giants are not in last place because the Rockies are in your division.
God bless.
But is this just going to be a fight to the death between the Padres and the Dodgers? Or will the Giants somehow place in third to the end of the season?
I don't like look, the Giants might end up in third in the division because I don't the Rockies are the Rockies, so I'm not worried about them. Um and I don't trust the D-backs to not like fall on their face. And I also don't trust the Giants to not like inexplicably have a hot streak. Um so like that's a possibility still. I don't know that I would put a lot of money on it, but it's a possibility.
Anything can happen. I say this as someone whose team is in second place in the division, where
Yeah.
just 2 years ago they lost 121 games.
Right. Quite a turnaround.
Anything, and I mean anything. Well, I mean, to be fair, we have Mike Vassell with a Harry Potter wand in our dugout casting spells on Munetaka Murakami to hit home runs. And we have the Pope. So like we have two very
You can't undersell the Pope element.
we've got the Pope and we have
Like,
witchcraft in
that's a lot. That's a lot.
so you do need maybe you do need your own Pope or at least like a slew of witches.
Yeah, it might be time for an Etsy witch or two.
Yeah. hmm Uh I mean, I considered hiring Etsy witches for various other things. I've heard great reviews. They helped Seattle a lot.
Right. It worked for the Mariners.
So, I mean, I thought like, hey, if I'm gonna actually get Haley Williams tickets, I should hire an Etsy witch. I did. I didn't have to. I still got the tickets for those who actually care. Again, I said this was going to be a silly, goofy episode. My bad, yo. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's time to think about that.
Yeah. I do have to consider very seriously though, like where I'm gonna place my Etsy witch budget though,
Mm-hmm.
because I do have newly acquired Sharks season tickets.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's valid.
I may need to hold my Etsy witch budget for hockey season.
hmm
Um, because the reality is that I up until full on adulthood, I never thought I would see either of those teams win a championship. And then the Giants turns around and won three. So I now just really need it to be the Sharks' turn because if they Macklin Celebrini is so Buster Posey coded, despite also being a little gremlin, but like just like that the the energy of like having a really young player show up and just sort of immediately like take control of the team. Um, Again, the comparisons are sort of unavoidable. Like obviously, like the Sharks fan Giants fan overlap is pretty strong. Um, so I cannot stomach him not winning.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, so listeners, if you know a good Etsy witch, especially if they're affordable, please drop that in the comments.
Yeah. Soliciting recommendations. If they're reasonably priced enough,
Yeah,
I will
reasonably
employ many of them if I need to.
reasonably priced, but good reviews. Like we need those two filters. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
at
I don't want
least
to
four
waste
stars.
my money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. At least 4 stars.
4 star, reasonably priced, locally sourced Etsy witches.
Yeah,
If you're listening, you
organic,
are an
free
Etsy
range.
witch. Also reach out to us. I'll send you my email. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's good. Okay. We need to we need to take a break and then get into this series before it gets very weird.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Um, okay, so let's talk about pitching. I was looking up, so
Uh,
we've got Trevor McDonald, who seems like he's doing fairly well.
yeah,
Going against White Sox ace Davis Martin, who has just been completely lights out. We've got two dudes, Adrian Hauser and Eric Fetty. I don't really have anything positive necessarily to say about either one. And then we have Robbie Ray, who is still somehow playing Major League Baseball, but a strikeout machine, 50
yeah,
strikeouts so far,
yeah.
versus newborn baby Noah Schultz. So how are you feeling about these pitching matchups?
Oh, well, yeah. I don't. hmm. Not great about game one. for obvious reasons.
You
This
don't
is
feel good
no
about two dudes, Eric Fetty and
it,
Adrian Hauser?
it, I mean, coin flip. I don't know. Like it's not going to be compelling baseball, probably,
No.
but the outcome could go either way. Um, it's funny because obviously, like going against another an ace who has really been on a tear, never a good matchup. But also, the Giants historically do so badly against pitchers they've never seen before.
Okay.
So, like, newborn baby can be a problem.
Yeah. And Noah, I'll give him credit. He's rocky for sure because he is a newborn. He still has very wobbly sea legs, but he's been showing promise.
Mm.
Um, again, former White Sox legend Adrian Hauser versus former and current White Sox legend Eric Fetty. That's gonna just be bad. So let's just talk about let's just let's just talk about Trevor McDonald. He seems like his ERA is pretty good. He seems like he's having a fairly decent season. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, he's been a pleasant surprise. Um, like I said, there's the the pitching staff is sort of duct taped together. So some of the random break glass in case of emergency pitchers have actually proven to be fairly useful. So yeah, I don't feel bad about that. He's done pretty well, and God knows nobody else can. So why not?
Yeah, should be an interesting matchup. Again, he's going against Davis Martin. Davis Martin is kind of tough as nails right now. So that, if you're watching Friends, that's the game to watch. The other two might just be crazy, but
Yeah, the that game is probably the one that is most likely to be interesting. The other two might be interesting, but not in like a good way, potentially.
also Robbie Ray's pants are not as tight as they used to be, and I take that as a personal front.
Oh no, it depends on the day.
Okay, okay. Because
They are
I
still they're still very tight,
okay,
broadly speaking.
good. Because I saw like a couple games and I was like, what is these are not the Robbie Ray tight pants I'm used to. This is why I tune in. This is rude. Okay, so good to know. Good to know. All right, enough with the pitching disaster. Biggest threat to the White Sox on this Giants team right now.
Oh, that's an excellent question. Luis Rice feels like the obvious answer, so I'm going to go with Casey Schmidt because he has overall been very. He's an interesting hitter because as a rookie, he would like swing at pitches in the opposite batter's box. Just uh, God love him, no eye whatsoever. Like just it was not pretty. And when he made contact, it was fine. Like he was a solid hitter. Like he had some pop and stuff, but it was the strikeout situation was dire. Um, and he really like figured it out. And since last season has just like really been uh, a surprisingly steady hitter in a very weird lineup, which yeah, I don't think anybody was expecting. So he is one to watch. Harrison Bader also is sort of relatively freshly off the IL, so
Mhm.
um, keep an eye on how that goes. He's looked pretty good so far. Um, not as rusty as you sometimes worry about with guys coming off the IL, especially earlier ish in the season. So fingers crossed.
So what do the Giants need to do to take this series from the second place White Sox? I'd say that is if anyone should actually take the AL Central seriously. Please just let me have my moment.
um, I mean, this is the most obvious thing, right? But get a hit with runners in scoring position. Like they games that they have lost recently, a lot of them have been instances of like just never cashing in on that opportunity. So if they can get a couple of timely hits, they might actually be okay. Um, Also, the bullpen situation needs to be a little like if you've got a lead, don't let it disintegrate. Um, and I don't really blame Tony Vitello for that because he hasn't had a lot of especially compelling options in the
Mhm.
bullpen. But I do think at this stage, he probably needs to just keep a pretty tight rein on it and not, if you've got a lead, don't like give somebody space to work out of it because none of them have really proven that they can yet. So, like, you got to be willing to hit the eject button pretty quickly.
My favorite like baseball momism is always like don't help them when your kid is on the mound, just nowhere near the zone, just throwing the wildest pitches in the world.
Right.
It's always like don't
Right.
help them. You don't need to give them those runs.
Right. Don't give them free outs. Don't.
Yeah. And I feel like that
Yeah.
always applies to also the White Sox bullpen. They can be a little rough to watch. And inside me when I'm watching any baseball game, it's the baseball mom in me. Because I mean, I was that woman. It's been nearly 12 years of at least one child playing baseball or softball at any given moment. So
Mhm.
it's always fresh. I'm always like, yeah, good eye. Good job.
That good eye is like that's my biggest tell for when I am becoming like unnecessarily attached to someone. When they're like on an O for 8 or something, and I'm like, good eye when they take a reasonably close pitch. That's my tell of like, oh, this is now becoming like an attachment problem.
You are now my son, my large adult son.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You are now my son, and I have to protect you with my life.
I am getting really bad because I have felt very motherly to a lot of players recently, like Chase Mydroth. I'm like, I'm now his mother. Kyle Teal looks way too much like he could be my husband's child. Like it's like Kyle Teal is what my husband looked like when he was in his early 20s. So it really
Oh my
freaks me
gosh.
out because I'm like, are you aware that you could have like,
Right. Are
has
you
there
sure?
you're both Italian. Has there been a DNA test done on Kyle? So like I outwardly do feel motherly to him because I was like, I'm probably your stepmom. You just don't know it.
Right.
Um, but like I find myself just being like very motherly. Like and we have a bunch of baby catchers right now because Kyle is injured. He was already a baby catcher. Kyle's been injured. So now we have Drew Romo, and I'm like, you are a little cherub face. I need to protect you from this harsh world. And then like Edgar Quero the other night was the walk-off home run against the Cubs to win that series. And I was like, oh my God, my baby, I'm so proud of you. You've been in such a slump.
Right.
You
Right.
saw that ball, you hit it, it went ball left the yard. Like, proud of you for swinging through that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I've discovered in the past, probably in the past year or so, that like rookies are young enough to actually be my child
Yeah.
now. And that just creates a whole new dynamic.
Brooks Baldwin looks like my child. Again, like he's like identical to my, again, was I in a coma for 9 months? And did I have a teen pregnancy where I was in a coma the entire time and had this child because he looks identical to my son?
That's funny.
But yeah, I'm getting to that age where I was like, oh my God, you were born the year I graduated high school. That's gross to me.
Right. There's sort of two stages to it, I think. There's the well, if I had been like a teen pregnancy,
Yeah.
like a somewhat scandalously young, I could be your mother. And then it reaches the point of like, oh no, I could have like been in
Yeah.
college.
I could have been
And
like 24 when I had to.
yeah, exactly. Like you've got these babies who are in their early 20s. I'm like, I am fully 20 plus years older than you. Like literally, I could have had you at the age that my mother had me.
And then you feel weird because like if they're a cutie pie and you're like,
No, I
oh,
know that it's like, oh,
yeah, you're like
starts to
me
feel real weird.
right now with Sam Antonacci. I was like, you are such a little like baby face cutie pie. But then I was like, ew, no, that actually makes me sound gross. I could be your mom.
Right. Right. You have to like take a step back and like this is not I need to give this a couple of years for you at least.
Yeah, please hit 27 and then even then it's still weird because
Oh
I'll be
God.
like,
Look, at this
whatever.
point, uh, the Sharks have given me a new appreciation for how young the like baby baseball players are not because
Because they're like
half of that.
19 coming into hockey.
Yeah, Macca Celebrini is probably going to be is captain of the Canadian world team, national team at Worlds right now. Probably going to be the Sharks captain. He is 19 years old.
Yeah, I can
25 years old. It suddenly feels so normal
hmm
and like grown comparatively when I'm looking at all these babies who like can't legally drink, can't rent a car, could still be on their parents' health insurance. Like that, like that's a whole different level of young.
Yeah. Yeah, gross. Um, so you mentioned the bullpen fear. Would you say that is your primary fear heading into the series, or do you have like a new undiscovered one that you would like to unpack right now? This is the safe place to do this.
I mean, I look. I feel like every baseball fan always says it's the bullpen because it kind of always is on some level. Like even
Yep.
when it's not, it is. Um, so the bullpen's definitely up there, but just the not being able to follow through on any like offensive opportunities is the thing that keeps me up at night sometimes when it's like those games where you lose by one run or like you miss a big opportunity and then it kind of spirals. It's like those are the ones that haunt me in a certain way.
You're very brave about that, sharing. So, moving away from this train wreck series we're approaching, um, how are you feeling just about 2026 baseball overall? Like, are we welcoming that we're not getting baseball next year? Do we have any fun hot takes, ice cold takes? Like, where are you at? What are the vibes?
I'm definitely, I mean, with the looming lockout, I am definitely trying to enjoy it while we've got it because God knows how much of a mess that turns into. Um, and I am also just really enjoying, first of all, found out today Garrett Cole is back for his
Yes,
next start.
Friday, the day this
My
comes
long
out.
personal, yeah, my long personal nightmare is over. I've been so brave in a Garrett Cole-less world. So super excited about that. He was hitting like 100 in his rehab starts. So
So, like,
that
prime Garrett Cole is
bouncy,
back.
yeah, that bouncy new UCL. We've got a whole new lease on life. Um, so that's fun. Ben Rice suddenly being the best hitter in baseball. That's fun. He's a delightful little nerd. And um, for those of you who don't obsessively follow the Yankees, when Garrett Cole was on the IL in 2024, Ben caught him in a rehab start in I think Trenton at the time, and was like in his post game when they were like, you know, how's it been being around the younger players or whatever. Garrett specifically was like, this kid's so special. I like him. Like this one is mine.
Hmm.
And it is hilarious how right he has turned out to be. So that's always fun seeing that happen. And then um, I feel like I need to whisper this because I don't want to jinx it and like taunt the baseball gods. But um, Cam Schlittler, if they were gonna, he's the AL Cy Young if they give it right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like he is he is the most special young pitcher I have watched in a long time.
Yeah.
And when he had that start in the ALDS last year, it's like you sort of try to appreciate it in the moment because the reality of it, right, is that you never know if that's going to happen again. Like maybe that is the peak of that guy's career, and it's still special in that moment. And so I still like want to try and appreciate it. But like, if anything, that really was like just the tip of the iceberg of what he's capable of, and he has been so good and is so like unflappable. I like his demeanor on the mound so much. Um, and just like just such a special player and fun as hell to
Hmm.
watch and a hysterical little nerd too. Like he's another like his cat. He's a cat guy, which is immediate green flag for me. Um, his cat is named Arya after Arya Stark.
Of course. Of course.
He has a whole like Game of Thrones themed like half sleeve. Like he's such a dork. They like sent him to a cat cafe in Tampa during spring break or it's spring training for like content, and he like went back on his own because he enjoyed it so much after
Yeah.
they took him there. So just like it's nice to have players who are good players and are fun to watch as baseball players who you also just feel like I don't hate myself for rooting for you.
Yeah.
That is an unfortunately rare occurrence.
Especially in the age
Um,
of social media, because now you can be like, who are they following?
right.
And it kind of ruins it.
There's so many opportunities for them to tell on
Yeah.
themselves. And that's really unfortunate. So it's, I was talking to my best friend about this the other day. The sort of the good and bad of the like political social environment we find ourselves in is that the rubber is kind of hitting the road for a lot of these guys, and like people are showing their true colors. Like
Hmm.
they are really it has become a like say it with your chest or don't say it
Yeah.
situation. And so that sucks because sometimes players that you really would like to root for show themselves and you're like, well, actually, you suck.
Yeah.
But it does also mean that the ones who are not that, I do also feel like you can sort of appreciate more too, because it does get to the point where people really have to like, even if they're not saying anything like really outwardly, like there are lots of opportunities for them to screw up. And the ones who don't, like that feels notable now in a way that for a long time, it was like baseball particularly tried so hard to not be political
Hmm.
and to like be the great American pastime and um, avoid all of that. That a lot of chuds like flew under the radar. They had plausible deniability. And the the environment being what it is now, it's just gone away for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Now we've got like a Noah Syndergaard type who I liked.
Right.
I liked Noah back
No,
in the day.
I did too.
And now I'm just like, oh, you know what? Never
Yeah.
mind. I'm good. I'm even like mad at Jacob deGrom for being on the
Yeah.
Rangers. I'm just like, I didn't see this side of you initially, and now I'm seeing a side of you that I'm just like, oh, I loved and respected you, and now I'm just like, oof, never mind. Maybe I don't.
Right.
Paul
Right. And it's not
Skeens was
just
another one with after the WBC, like him and Cal Raleigh. I was like, actually, pause. I liked both of you a lot, and now
yeah.
I'm not sure. Now that your personality has been like exposed for the world to see, I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I need to take a step back.
I will say I feel very, very vindicated on the Paul Skeens thing because I have never liked
You were a day one hater.
I was a day one hater. Because when he was at LSU his junior year, LSU played Florida in the College World Series finals.
Hmm.
And look, I will not necessarily hate someone just because they beat my team. However, there was this, I vividly remember there was this whole like not puff piece, but like a human interest kind of like profile bit on one broadcast. I can't remember if it was during the last game or if it was, but it was during the finals. And they were talking about how he would like walk around the locker room and just like point at guys and be like, I work harder than you. I work harder than you. I work harder than you. And just like go around. And it was presented as this like, oh, he's so competitive and he's such a leader. And I was just like, he's an asshole.
But he was almost in the Air Force.
Yeah, the Air Force Academy thing is like a whole that's a whole other my God, just the but yeah. So the vibes were not good immediately. And it was just one of those things where like, you know, that was not something that was like common knowledge or whatever. It was like it just happened to be this like sort of aside during the broadcast. It was just immediately so off-putting.
Yeah. It was almost better when we just didn't know a lot of these player personalities and you could just root for him. But that's also like a
Yeah,
privilege take where it's like actually
for sure.
if I if I didn't know that you were like a homophobe and I was rooting for you and then it came out, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what was wrong? Like what was I thinking? This sucks for me. So
Right.
it's just kind of a double-edged sword. Uh being so close to these players and seeing who they are as
Yeah.
people. And sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes you do get these super nerdy, lovable Yankees players and sometimes you're just like, "Oh my God, you're a piece of shit."
Right, right. Sometimes you get Mark Canna, and
Yeah.
sometimes you get Noah Syndergaard, and
Yeah.
that is the unfortunate divergence there. But I do think it's also sometimes an interesting like a reminder, I guess, of like male professional athletes in like the major American North American sports. There is such arrested development so often
Hmm.
because I mean, to get to the level that you are a professional athlete as a man, girls and AFAB people don't have this privilege because they have to go to school and have careers and whatever because their sports aren't going to pay them enough, probably. But if you're going to play baseball or you're going to play football or you're going to play hockey or whatever, um, you probably have to be sort of singularly focused on that from such a young age. And it takes up so much of your time and so much of your energy that you would in other circumstances you would go to college and have different experiences and meet different people, or you would have an internship, or you would travel, or you would, you know, take different classes, or you would be more invested in school in a different way, and like all of this stuff. And like that's the trade-off that they make to be professional athletes. But the unintended consequence of that is that yeah, like there's a lot of life experience that they just
Hmm.
don't have,
Well,
and sometimes that shows itself.
this is coming and I think rightfully so. Caitlin Clark is kind of getting torn down for the whole walking out with Morgan Wallen thing. Again,
Mm-hmm.
rightfully so. That man is a violent, racist asshole. And her kind of showing her colors on a team where there are black women on this team, and he's, very well known for saying the N-word. Like there's a new player on the Fever that almost quit playing basketball entirely because of the kind of psychopath Caitlin Clark only or like Sophie Cunningham only fans, like that white racist Indiana fan
Yeah,
base. And
yeah.
like I say this as a girl from Indiana who I watched the Fever win a champ like I was present when the Fever won their championship in 2012. Like I've been watching women's basketball forever. I say that as somebody who, grew up with the Fever, and I don't root for them now, but like Caitlyn is rightfully so under a lot of heat for this. But this is also coming off, and we talked about this before we started recording because my group chat was blowing up. Pete Crow-Armstrong saying to a female, replying to a female fan that just said, "You suck," because he couldn't catch a very routine ball that he should have caught. He said, "Suck my fucking dick, you bitch." But now he's being almost lauded as this like men's rights activist. And people are like, well, if
Right.
you dish it, you should be able to take it. But talking about like the female fan,
Right.
like, oh, if you say a player sucks, then you should be able to handle the backlash you receive. And I was like, no, what he said perpetrates rape culture. And you're applauding what he said to her.
Right. Right. If he had told her to fuck off, fine.
Who cares? But calling her a
In
bitch,
that case, right. In that case, I absolutely agree. Like, don't, if you're going to heckle somebody, understand that you're going to get it back potentially. Like,
yeah.
I absolutely, in that instance, I absolutely agree with that. But yeah, that choice of words, not great. But the flip side, but the turning him into some men's right activist or whatever, like, that's also weird
Yeah.
because, like, that doesn't track with everything else we know about him. And I don't think that's true either. I think it is probably just a case of like this stuff is so ingrained socially and culturally that unless you have really taken the time to like think about it
Hmm.
and start to sort of unpack some of that, then yeah, like I don't think that was really the way it was meant. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in the 90s when, oh my God, that's so gay
Yeah.
was everyone's favorite insult.
Just meant
And like,
stupid or bad.
right, right. And so many people I know said it. And it was a point of contention even then that like if you said, come on, don't say that, it was you were like being a
Not
prude or
cool. Yeah.
being yeah, you were uncool, you're being very overly sensitive. Um, but I know that the people who said that not they're not homophobes for the most part. Some of them I'm sure probably are, but like of the people that I know that I grew up with, like there were a lot of people who said that consistently who are queer and have come out since. Or I know now, we're still in contact, we're still friends. They're not homophobes at all. But it was so they were young, they hadn't unpacked sort of what it really meant when they said it. It was so ingrained, it was so commonplace that it just like it wasn't a big deal in the moment. And it's not until you sort of take a step back and really start to think about it that you start to see like, okay, yeah, that's screwed up. I shouldn't say it. So if you are in the situation where you're in this sort of state of arrested development because you are playing this child's game as an adult for millions of dollars, surrounded by other people who are playing this children's game for millions of dollars, yeah, it's really easy to not ever have the life experience or the opportunity to think about any of this and have somebody say, okay, not a great choice of words. Handle that differently next time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think anything will actually come of what he said. I don't think there's going to be any repercussion because this league is famously not good at that sort of thing. They are
Right.
not good
Well,
at protecting women.
no, and the horribly unfortunate reality is that I think MLB probably actually does that better than the other
Yeah,
major men's leagues,
especially
which is
like
like,
NFL, NHL.
yeah, I mean, I just a known rapist who got off on a technicality is potentially going to win the Stanley Cup, and that's like common. Like that's not. This is a particular egregious example, but like we all know it's happened in other sports. We've watched it happen.
Well, I'm a
Um,
Blackhawks fan, so
right,
I feel
right,
tainted for, from 2010 to 2015, all those Stanley Cups
right,
from those years feel tainted to me.
right.
Like
They feel a little icky now, which is terrible. Like
I
that
left,
sucks.
I stopped watching hockey altogether for probably five. Like I'm just now finally kind of starting to get back to hockey. Like I
Mm.
watched the lottery thing. It was like, okay, I'm gonna check the and see what the Blackhawks do. But like for a good 5 years, I was like, I can't watch this team. Duncan Keith was one of my favorite players, and he was involved in all of this.
Oh, that's
Like
rough.
I had a Duncan Keith jersey. Like he was
God,
my
and
guy. And I'm just like,
right. And again, wow,
oh,
how the world turns on that one.
yeah. So it felt so just gross. Kind of seeing how all of that went down.
Yeah, and like I also stopped watching hockey. I've been a Sharks fan for as long as they existed. My godfather was a huge hockey fan and was super excited when the team came to the Bay when I was a kid, and has had season tickets for years. So he got me into hockey. I've been a hockey fan, for a long time. And I stopped watching for a while. Same way, where it's like just the entire like entity of men's hockey felt so gross.
Hmm.
And then there was a period like then it was sort of a perfect storm of like then Evander Kane was on the Sharks for a little while. And then they were also terrible. So it was just like I had no reason to engage. And the thing that I wish the NHL as an entity would understand is that the thing that brought me back to the Sharks and brought me back to hockey, and that I just paid a truly horrifying amount of money for season tickets, um, was the fact that the team now is like, driven by the power of friendship, and they're just like a bunch of like puppies who wish to be a real boy, and um, nobody has shown their ass on Pride
Yeah.
Night. Like,
Yeah.
almost everyone had pride tape on their sticks at Pride Night this year, like including the really really highest profile guys. Alexander Wenberg and Tyler Foley went and coached the pride scrimmage that the Sharks have with it's a primarily trans like club hockey team, and then there's a I think it's just like a generally LGBT uh, hockey team. They play a scrimmage at SCP Center at the tank. And, you know, uh, Toff and Wenny went and were, there supporting and were like helping to coach and stuff. And like that is what made me want to come back to the sport,
Hmm.
was that the organization that I root for, like the team that I am emotionally attached to, made it feel good again. Like
Yeah.
they I was like mouth and throat going into Pride Night, or like heart and throat going into Pride Night, because I was so afraid. I was like, I'm back in it. I'm really enjoying it. I love these boys so much. Like they're my babies. Please don't screw this up.
Yeah.
Like just please don't screw this up. And nobody did. And it was so nobody did. Even like, Yaroslav Askarov, who obviously is a Russian citizen and stuff. And so there's a whole bunch of consequences there. He
Mhm.
was like throwing pucks to people with signs and like waving at people and being really sweet about it, even though like he didn't have tape for obvious reasons. Um, and like basically everybody else did. And when they got asked about it after the game by some media, they were like really sweet about it and like said really nice things. And it's like I wish I if I could wave a magic wand, I would just want the NHL and MLB and like the NFL and the men's sports writ large. I would just want them to understand that that's what did it.
Yeah. Well, that's
Like
what
that's what it was.
that's why I'm lucky that the White Sox at least are a bit more forward thinking. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've had Pride Night. I mean, Southpaw, their mascot, goes to the Pride Parade in Boys Town dressed up.
Which is
Like
so cute.
they're in the parade every single year. They always host a Pride Night. Very recently, they hosted their first game day for the girls, which was really nice.
Fun.
A bunch of the Southside Sox ladies got invited to go, and it was nice because it was just like, oh, okay, like you want us here. You're doing things
Right.
intentionally,
Right.
even if it's like really girly girl stuff. You're doing things intentionally to bring women into the sport. You're doing
Right.
things intentionally to bring in LGBTQ plus people into this sport for this night. And like
Right.
they're doing a Hello Kitty Day, they're doing a Barbie Day. They do all of these heritage nights. Like
Hmm.
Mexican Heritage Night, sellout crowd every single time. They give away these incredible jerseys every year. Like they
Hmm.
go out of their way to make the different communities feel welcome. And I
Yeah.
I wish all teams did that because again, that would make you feel included. Obviously,
Right.
the Sharks did it for you. The White Sox
Right.
are doing it for me. They don't have an abuser on their team anymore, which is a bonus.
Love that.
So I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay.
And like when the whole debacle with the pride hats and all of that went down, the Giants had an opportunity to really fold and like back away from it entirely. And it does mean a lot to me that they didn't. And that, they pushed the issue and the league was like, okay, well, you can still do it. We don't want anybody else to do it, but like you can still do it. That meant a lot. Again, same thing. Again, like nobody made a whole big fiasco out of it. Um, that means a lot. And even like the Giants do Fiesta Gigantes that's every Saturday now, where uh they have like a whole bunch of different groups come in. They have dancers and they have Latina and they had like Latino musicians doing the anthem and playing pregame and like a whole thing. And they have special jerseys that they wear um, every Saturday home game. Like I'm as white as is humanly possible, but that also feels good to me, right?
Mhm.
Like that
Yeah.
just it's one, it's fun.
Hmm.
Like the pregame vibe is great because it's so much more interesting than the usual, just like the same music you hear every time, whatever. So it's super cool that in that way. But just like even as somebody who is not part of that community, it still feels welcoming in a different way
And you should
because it's
explore these communities.
right,
As a white person, explore these communities.
right. And if
Please.
you live in a major city, if you live in someplace like San Francisco, if you live in someplace like Chicago, if you live in someplace like LA, where you are surrounded by all of these communities, you should want to see that represented. And that's cool because
Hmm.
that's part of what makes the place where you live the place where you live, right? Like th- we're in California. There's a huge Latino population. That is a huge part of the culture of this area.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm white as hell. But I grew up here, and when I moved to New England, when I came home, my mom would be like, "What do we want to go out to eat?" My first year of college, I vividly remember went to college in Massachusetts. I came home for Christmas. We're on the way home from the airport. My mom's like, "Oh, we should stop and get lunch. Where do you want to go?" And I was like, "I will punch a baby for a burrito right now."
Yes.
Like, oh my God. And it was, and that, like, that, but that's such an example, right? That, like,
Mhm.
even if you are not directly part of that community, if you live in the larger community, all of that is an influence. Like, all of that is part of what goes into the place where you live and the place where you call home. And if you don't want to acknowledge that, like, you're giving up so much of what makes a place.
Yeah. Well, I felt very seen when I looked at the White Sox promotional schedule this year because again, it started with game day for the girls. I'm a girl. And then there was emo night and a Star Wars day, and I was like, well, I'm
I
very emo.
I saw the pictures of Southpaw with the like very Gerard Way
He came out
wig.
two-stepping to Welcome to the Black Parade.
Incredible.
Like
Incredible.
they did a great job with emo night. The
It
music
it looked
hit
like
or
so
miss,
much fun, but
but
it looked
it
like
was
so much
neat.
fun.
the shirt was neat. They had a shirt that said "It's not a phase," and it was like that kind of neon green with like the stars and everything on it. And I was like, I will wear this. I
Amazing. You're
will
like, did
wear
I buy
this.
this at Hot Topic?
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of, I mean, there were a lot of just good callbacks to like early 2000s emo. They did like
I
a
love that.
which would you prefer? And it was like Hot Topic or Zoomies, eyeliner or black nail polish. It was very much like a callback to early
Amazing.
2000s emo. And I was like, well, I feel very seen. But then there was like, we're also doing Star Wars night. And I was like, cool, I'm a big Star Wars nerd. Hey, we're having Hello Kitty Day. Wow, hey, Hello Kitty is my girl. And they're like, hey, we have Polish Heritage Night. And I was like, hello, that's me. And then Pride Night that they always have. I'm just like, these are all of the things that,
Right.
and then they even had like a halfway to Halloween day. I couldn't go this year, but like they had a
That's
halfway to
fun though.
Halloween day. And I was like, this is who I am as a person. Like,
That's a real like gear promotions department is being run by a millennial.
yeah. Oh, yeah. South Paul for halfway to Halloween dressed up as Jigsaw and came out on a little bike. So I was like, you guys
Incredible.
are knocking it out of the park on inclusion for
Yeah.
like everybody because you've got like the
Well
spooky
done.
weirdo bisexual girls coming out, then you know you've done something right.
Right. And again, this is one of the things where like I would love for teams and leagues to pay attention to because the Giants have been doing Hello Kitty Night for a handful of years. It's always
I was
super
there for
fun.
Hello Kitty Day
Love that. Oh yeah, you did work a couple years
a
ago.
couple years ago.
Um, it's so much fun. Last year though, I went. People were rabid for the giveaway. It's a
Hmm.
very cute jersey. I'm very pleased that I got one. People were rabid for it though. I was expecting like a fist fight. It was bonkers. People were into it. And that's another one of those where it's just like pay attention to this stuff because like you're getting the data.
Yeah.
If you look at it, you will see like how many people are going to things, how many like are you giving away all of something? Are people like banging down your door practically because they don't get one?
Hmm.
I went to the Giants had a Valkyries night a couple weeks ago. Was very excited. We were like, oh, they're giving away like a black and purple, like black and Valkyries violet jersey. That's super cool. We got there an hour early. Because of where our seats are, we can go in like a separate entrance. I
Hmm.
have never not gotten a giveaway going through that entrance. They were out.
Yeah. Well, Hello Kitty, so the White Sox have it set up. There are certain giveaways where you have to purchase like a specialty ticket. Hello
Mhm.
Kitty is one of those days where you have to purchase a specialty ticket, and those tickets sold out in like 20 minutes. It was
When the
wild.
Gi- For the Giants Hello Kitty Day, they usually, I don't know if they are this year, but what they have done historically is there's like two giveaways where
Mhm.
there's the standard like first 20,000 fans or whatever one, and then there is the special event one that is the extra ticket that is like a different, slightly cooler
Yeah.
giveaway. And they do that for a bunch of months. I think they did that for Star Wars night. They did that for like Marvel night. Um, where they sort of double the giveaway. But yeah, like people are into this stuff and it's not just the obvious stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not just like superhero day where you're like, okay, that's the probably targeting the same demographic as like what they think your average baseball fan is. But
Hmm.
like, yeah, like game day for the girls, Hello Kitty night, Barbie night. The Sharks had a Barbie night last season, just this season that just ended, and they did some special like limited edition merch with um the brand's line change. It's a woman owned brand. They do a bunch of PWHL merch and stuff. Um, and the sweatshirt was so popular that they had to go back and be like, can you do another one? Can
Hmm.
you do another run of these? Because people were like frantically calling the pro shop and like desperate to get these sweatshirts because they sold out so fast.
Yeah, I saw that at a Pirates game. They had a Mac Miller day, and the Mac Miller specialty shirt sold out before. I mean, we managed to get the bobblehead, but we tried to get into the shirts, and they were like, we sold out of those within 5 minutes.
Right, right. There's like an immediate stampede.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I just really hope that teams do pay attention to this stuff
Yeah, well,
because they're on a purely business level, you're leaving money on the
yeah.
table.
The White Sox did. They were doing that Pope hat giveaway. And they were like, well, because again, like with the Hello Kitty Day, it's like limited to these sections. You have to buy a specialty ticket. At first, the Pope hat was limited to these sections. You had to buy a specialty ticket, sold out in like 5 minutes. So they were like, oh, okay. So they've made it to available now to everyone. Like if you go to that game, you're getting the Pope hat. Like they're going to purchase enough for every single person there. You're getting a Pope hat because it was just so insane. I mean, like there are Cubs fans I know, they're like, I bought tickets to that game. I want that hat. It's the Chicago Pope. I had to have it.
I own the Chicago Pope shirt that is the retro, the like 70s logo.
Yeah, it's a big
It's
one.
so good.
Yeah, I
Like
have the sticker.
I was raised Catholic, but I'm like the most lapsed
Yes, same.
Catholic. Like I am non-practicing, as they say. I've perfected it. I don't need to practice anymore. Um, and I still was like, this is too great. I have to own it because the novelty of the Pope being a White Sox fan, that's too funny.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
not.
and
I can't turn that down. That's too great.
they continue to run with it, and like I would too. It's
Why?
again, it's
Why
leaving
not?
money on the table if you don't run
Right.
with the Chicago Pope, the White Sox
Right.
Pope. So I
Right.
love
It's especially since the White Sox are doing well. Like it's extra. You really got to run with
they.
it
I
now.
mean, I'm
If they
not.
were terrible, it would be a little bit harder. But the like, we've been blessed by the Pope angle. That's incredible.
I'm not saying they went on a tear the second it came out that he was a White Sox fan, but they drastically improved the second it was announced he was a Sox fan, and they are having a great start to this year.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I do think it's funny too that because I remember when they first announced that he had been elected, my first question was, Cubs or Sox?
Yeah,
I
that
know,
was everybody's first
I know
question.
you have an allegiance, Cubs or Sox.
And the best part, and it just came up on that 1 year anniversary of that, the best part is like ABC News assumed he was a Cubs fan, ran with the Cubs fan narrative. So the Cubs up on their marquee outside were like claiming him. They like a very Chicago term said dibs, he's ours. And then
Right.
the brother immediately comes on and he was like, absolutely not. He is not a Cubs. My mom was a Cubs fan. My dad's a Cards fan. He's a Sox fan. And so then
That's
the
a
White
weird.
yeah, so then the White Sox were just like, hey, Cubs, he's ours, like up on their Jumbotron. So like they're trolling
Right.
him. And then even the Mets got in because the Cubs were in New York playing the Mets when that news broke that he was a Sox fan. So the Mets were trolling the Cubs via their Jumbotron during that entire game too. So I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
see, this is what happens when you assume someone's from Chicago and is not a Cubs fan because there's
Right.
another team. There's another team.
Right. Right.
Ah. But yeah,
So
so
funny.
yeah, they got trolled deservingly. So, well, that's what I have for you. If you're still listening to this episode, wow, thank you. Um, I feel the love.
Uh,
But I warned everybody twice during this episode that it was going to get like this.
they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, I mean, if they've listened the past now, this is the fourth episode with you. This is fourth season of Visiting Dugout. If they've
Yeah.
listened to the last three that they knew, they knew.
Yeah.
Um,
This is not unexpected.
no, this is just Crystal being a nerd with her friends. Um, what was it? Oh yeah, where can people find you so that they can get more of this bullshit?
Um, Britt H on Blue Sky is still where baseball mostly lives. And if you want to hear more yelling about hockey, primarily, same username on Instagram.
Well, perfect. Thank you, as always, for joining me. It is always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah.
If I didn't have 97 people request either the Dodgers or Yankees, I would have you on for the Yankees. but those are the only teams in baseball that exist. So,
Yeah, no, they're well populated.
um, never have a problem filling that. But thank you so much. Best of luck in this series.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.